what's wrong or right.
No.
It's not hard to fool me.
No.
'Cause I'm addicted to the good life.
Yes.
Yeah. Lead the way, I follow. No need to say.
No.
Where we are heading now, babe, I follow to the edge of it all, to the edge of it all. So tell your good night, 'cause I'll find a better one, yeah. Susceptible now, before the moment flies. Ooh, so tell your good night, 'cause I'll find a better one. Ooh, susceptible now, before the moment flies. It's not a problem,
No.
'cause I know what I'm getting into.
Yes.
Yeah, and nothing can stop me,
No.
'cause I'm addicted to what you and I realize. Lead the way, I follow. No need to say. Where we are heading now, babe, I follow to the edge of it all. So tell your good night, 'cause I'll find a better one, yeah. Susceptible now, before the moment flies, before it flies. So tell your good night, 'cause I'll find a better one. Susceptible now, before the moment flies. Yeah. In this moment,
Yes.
I cannot say what's wrong or right.
No.
It's not hard to fool me,
No.
'cause I'm addicted to the good life.
Yes.
Yeah, lead the way, I follow. No need to say.
No.
Where we are heading now, babe, I follow to the edge of it all, to the edge of it all. So tell your good night, 'cause I'll find a better one, yeah. Susceptible now, before the moment flies. Ooh, so tell your good night, 'cause I'll find a better one. Ooh, susceptible now, before the moment flies. It's not a problem,
No.
'cause I know what I'm getting into.
Yes.
Yeah, and nothing can stop me,
No.
'cause I'm addicted to what you and I realize. Lead the way, I follow. No need to say. Where we are heading now, babe, not say what's wrong or right.
no,
It's not hard to fool me,
no,
'cause I'm addicted to the good life.
yes,
Yeah, lead the way, I follow. No need to say
no,
where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all, to the edge of it all. So tell your good night, 'cause I'll find no better one. Yeah, susceptible now before the moment flies. Ooh, so tell your good night, 'cause I'll find a better one. Ooh, susceptible now before the moment flies. It's not a problem,
no,
'cause I know what I'm getting into.
yes,
Yeah, and nothing can stop me,
no,
'cause I'm addicted to what you and I realize. Lead the way.
What's up, guys? This is Rob, and I'm the vet.
Hey, I'm Murph, and I'm the maintenance man.
Hey everybody, it's Shay. I'm the girl. I'm sort of still the noob. I'm 1 year post-op. So welcome to the Waiting Table Podcast. What's up? Good to see you guys.
How's it
Hey,
going?
I like that. I'm the noob. I'm the girl. I need to do something like that. I want to be something more than the vet.
I mean, you guys are always trying to be like me, so it's cool. I'm used to it.
You could be the old. She could be the noob.
There you go. I'm the old. I'm the old today. I'm the old today, at least.
That's especially fitting because it's your 40th birthday.
Hey!
Rob. Happy birthday.
Happy
Thank
birthday!
you, thank you. Thank you, guys. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on another episode of the Waiting Table Podcast, where we have roundtable discussions about the hottest topics in weight loss with, of course, the coolest people from the bariatric community. I'm Rob. We got Murph, we got Shay, and we got you guys. So grab a chair, wind down from your busy day, and take a seat at the table. Now, prior to our intro here, I think we have some cool, fun little game that Shay wanted to do with us that she didn't want to tell us about. So let's jump straight to that.
Perfect. Well, first, I'm actually going to introduce our guest because I want our guest to participate as well. So I'm going to introduce our guest. So tonight we have somebody super special. We have my mother-in-law, Aymee, and Aymee will be able to tell you more about herself as we kind of get going. But besides being the fact that she's my husband's mom, without her, my husband wouldn't be here. She's very special in that way. But the other,
Whoa.
right. The other reason that makes her so special, though, is Aymee has had bariatric surgery, and she was the first person close to me that had the surgery and actually talked with me about it. And so she's been a huge support in my journey. And so I'm going to go ahead and add Aymee in. Welcome.
Hey. Welcome, Aymee.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
Good.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Well,
Good.
we'll jump into like learning more about you and all of that, but I have a secret game, but that's not going to be.
Oh, you always scare me with your secret game, Shay.
What?
Us too.
So no karaoke this week, no singing of any kind. And the good thing is you guys all can work together, including people who are watching. You guys can work together as well and use the comments if you want. There is a name for this type of thing, and I was trying to Google it because I forgot. It's kind of a weird name. Essentially what it is I have all these different words that are kind of pieced together, and they're all sectioned out, but they actually say a complete word. So it'll be kind of like we'll do it and then you guys will get it more. So here's this first one. Can you guys all see that? So you guys can work together. This is, and just start saying it because it's going to make an actual word or phrase.
Ake inks high
Ake
sped.
ink sped.
Ake inks high sped. Ake inks high.
Aching high sped. Aching
I can.
high sped.
A king's high. Yeah, it's a king
A
something.
king's high.
A king's high sped. High sped. High sped. A king's high sped.
The king's high.
Come on, Amy, you got this.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm with you. Stuck on that.
Like it helps if you close your eyes.
Okay.
You know what I
A
mean?
king size bed.
A king size
Yes,
bed.
you got
There
it.
it is.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
promise
Oh,
I
man.
answered that before I read Savannah's comment.
Oh, nice. Good job, Savannah. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys get it more now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Don't focus on the letters. Like
focus on the sound of it.
Yeah.
Weighing less with Jess says a king's husband. I like that too.
Ooh,
Husband.
I could see that.
Close. That's
Are you guys ready for the next one?
100%.
yes.
Okay. Here's the next one. You guys
For
have
anyone on
Panda bear?
Spotify,
Panda
it's
bear?
ape, hand,
Ape,
hub,
panda
bear.
A panda
A
bear.
panda bear.
Panda bear.
You
Wow.
guys are getting it. See,
Wow.
Amy's good at games. I
That
knew that
was
she would get
quick.
it once we got going. Yeah.
That was quick.
All right. You ready for the next one? I have just a few more. Okay, here's the next one.
Spotify friends, Abe who
Abe
beat
who beat
rap.
rap. Abe who beat
Abe who
rap.
beat- It's a robot. That's
Abe.
Abe.
Abe who beat rap. Abe who
A poopy rap.
a poopy
What?
rap.
A
That's what I was
poopy
gonna say.
rap.
That's what I was gonna say. Abe who beat
What did you say? Sorry, that might have been
A
right.
poopy rap.
Oh no, that wasn't
Poopy
right.
rap.
That's right in my head.
That's the only thing that makes sense, really.
Right? I think that's right.
Abe who beat rap.
Hey babe, who beat rap?
Abe.
Man, this is a tough one.
All right, call Uncle if you guys give up.
My uncle doesn't speak English, so I don't think he'd get this.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
All right, I'll give this one to you guys. This is a booby trap.
That's what I said, right? Isn't that what you said?
Booby trap.
You said
Oh, man.
booby trap.
No, I said a poopy trap.
Okay,
No,
well,
I thought that was it.
all right. Just because it's your birthday, I'll let that slide. All right, we're gonna do two more. Are you guys good for
Right.
two more? Okay, this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
Easel, aid, ease, men.
Easel,
For
aid.
Spotify friends.
the next. This is talking about Rob.
Yep. An
Ease-
old man.
Easel aid. Ease man.
A ladies' man. Yes.
He's a
Yeah.
ladies' man.
Yep.
He's a ladies' man.
So all of these I looked up, but this next one I actually made myself, and I'm really proud because it's like really
Whoa.
hard to create these.
Dan Brown, look at you coming
I
up
know.
with a Da Vinci Code.
Ready? Are you guys ready for this one?
100%. Apple, yurt, Dane, rub. For all our friends on audio.
Apple yurt. Dane rub.
It's so funny knowing what it is and then hearing you guys say it.
Yeah, this game's only fun for you, Shay.
I know.
Yeah.
She creates these games to make us look like,
Yeah.
we're idiots.
Can you take me? when
Just default back
in
to
doubt,
Creed.
just go back to Creed.
Apple yurt Dane rub.
Did anybody in the comments get it? Let me look.
It's so hard because it's like out of context. Like it could be anything. you
I
know?
know. But
Apple,
it's
yurt,
very specific to
Dane
what
rub.
today is. Jess has been doing good, and so has Savannah.
Happy birthday, Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Rob.
I was
Thanks,
really
man.
proud of that one.
That was a
Good.
good one.
That was good.
Look, Amy doesn't appreciate it. She's like, that sucks.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I think I'm too literal for these kind of games because I'm like, wait, just my
When you
my
have an
brain
apple in a
doesn't work that
yurt.
way. Yeah. Oh,
Yum.
My brain doesn't work that way either. That's why I did the game. I was the host of it because like I'm not good with those either. All right. Well, I'm excited. Thank you guys for playing. I know people who are listening
Thank
on
you.
Spotify. That was probably a jumble of mess, but it'll be fun. Well, Aymee, this is the first time you've ever been on a podcast, huh? How does it feel?
Oh,
yes. Super noob here.
There you go.
all right.
Yeah.
Super noob.
Well, can you start just by telling us a little bit about who you are, your bariatric journey? And I did want to call out too, I had mentioned it in our stories, but we will be talking a bit about disordered eating. So consider this kind of everybody's trigger warning for that if you're not at a place where you feel okay listening to that, that's totally okay. But we did want to give a heads up. So with that, Aymee, tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, and I second that, Shay, just because I was planning on talking pretty candidly if I can here, and I definitely don't want to trigger anybody that might be going through something right now. So anyway, so my name is Aymee Sampson, and I just turned 51. So Rob, you little young in you, 40. Psh,
What can I do?
yeah.
Gotta catch up.
Yeah, 40 schmorty. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so I struggled with weight since I was a young child, like very young, like as in first grade, started getting made fun of at school, the chubby girl, all this and that. So I discovered early on that food was a comfort to me. It was a friend. It was something I went to when I was bored, when I was sad, happy. I mean, you name it. It was just food was a thing. It was definitely my thing from a very young age. And so, growing up in elementary school, it was tough, I had a best friend and she was super tall and I'm only 5'3", so I'm on the shorter side. So you can imagine she's super tall and thin. I'm chubby. And Shay, you might not get this one, but like they call us Laurel and Hardy. I don't know if you guys remember Laurel and Hardy, but yeah, super tall and skinny, and then shorter and not so skinny. So yeah, just things like that, just hurtful stuff like that. And so anyway, get into my teenage years and I really, really want to be a cheerleader. That was like, for me, I would have arrived if I was on the cheerleading squad. And so at 15 years old, I discovered my old best friend, bulimia. And it was what I thought was the absolute best method to eat whatever I want, binge whenever I want, and get rid of the food and stay at a neutral, kind of weight neutral.
Hey, Aymee, could you, I think a lot of people know what bulimia is, but for those that maybe aren't as familiar, can you just explain what that is a little bit more?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So for me, bulimia can take a lot of different shapes and forms, but for me, it was eating a very, very, very large quantity of food at one setting, and then vomiting the food back up till I felt completely empty again. It was definitely a high, 100%. Bulimia is like a 2-part high, in my opinion. The first part is the eating, like that part is definite. And so for those, binge eaters out there, you guys can relate to that high. But then for me, the second part was the purging. That was another high. And one couldn't go without the other. They had to go hand in hand for me. And so I just, thought, hey, I'm 15. I'm skinny now. I can still eat pizza whenever I want. This is great. So I'm thinking I have found the secret to life. And so anyway, don't mind me if I look down a bit, but I just wrote notes because there's some really important things I want to share and I don't want to miss anything.
Sure.
So, I did want to mention the amount of food, guys, that I have consumed. So I was bulimic for 24 years until the age of 39. And so, the amount of food that I consumed, had I not been doing the compensatory measure of purging, I would have definitely found myself well over 500 pounds. There's no doubt in my mind at all, because of the amount of food that I would put away during a binge session. And the only thing that kept me at a normal weight for so many years was the purging. So at the age of 39, I unfortunately had to get taken to the emergency department because I was throwing up large amounts of blood, and basically was told you have, it's called Mallory-Weiss tears in your esophagus. So I was told that I need to stop purging like immediately because if one of the tears slightly, tore open further, then it would cause internal bleeding and death, which, no good.
Aymee, sorry to interrupt. So how long had it been at this point that you had been purging regularly?
Since I was 15, so 24 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I stopped for short periods of time when I was pregnant with both of my boys. For whatever reason, having a life inside of me, I was able to put the addiction on hold for those times. I also breastfed both of my kids for significant periods of time. But I always went back to it. That it was always if I saw my weight creep up a little bit, it was just, that was the way that I did it. And so, it was a long time. The doctors were very surprised that I had gone that long without, doing major damage to my esophagus. But by the time I did get to the ER that night and they did all the tests, they said, your esophagus is wrecked, absolutely wrecked. And you cannot purge. Literally, you cannot purge again because these tears are so fragile. So I was so immersed in the addiction, though, part at that time that they couldn't get me into a treatment center. I had to wait a few days. So inpatient treatment was what the doctors were recommending for me. There was no beds available. So my mom had to basically promised the doctor, it was either stay in the hospital under, watchful eye there or go to my mom's. And she watched over me for a couple of days before I went into treatment. And bless her heart, but I was so in my addiction at that time that even a coffee from Dutch Bros, I couldn't handle it sitting in my system so I'd turn on the shower, pretending I was taking a shower and get rid of it, even at my mom's house. So I needed help. Look, I'll admit I wasn't ready for help. I was not ready. I don't know. There's a part of me that wants to say, I don't know if anyone's ever truly ready to give up their addiction, whether it's alcohol, drugs, whatever your addiction might be. But I was not ready. But this medical emergency kind of forced me to have to be ready. So I did, 2 months of inpatient, did really well. It was a really eye-opening experience for me. And then I did about a year of outpatient treatment and therapy outside of the inpatient setting. And so I have been in recovery now for 12 years. So I'm very, very proud to say that, I have had a few times where I've fallen off the wagon. Hasn't been perfect over these 12 years. Definitely don't want to try to say that it has been perfect, but I'm definitely in working my recovery every day. So, so after that, within these 12 years, I would say about 5 years ago or so, I slowly started slipping back into old patterns with eating, not with purging, but just with eating. So as you can imagine, one binge session turns into 2, turns into 3, the weight starts creeping on. And, I told myself, okay, Aymee, as long as you don't purge and mess up your esophagus again, okay, what's a few binges? You've had a stressful day at work, no big deal, whatever. All right, well, that got me into trouble because I ended up, at my highest weight, which for me, my highest weight was 230 pounds. And at that time, so this was back in 2020, and the height of COVID, kind of a stressful time, eating a lot during the COVID time. And but the big shock was I had an annual exam, and the blood work came back that I was in stage 3 kidney failure. Well, yeah, that's not good. There's 5 stages of kidney failure. Stage 5 is dialysis or transplant stage, and I was in stage 3. So my doctor basically said, you have got to get weight off of you and stat. Your kidneys are not doing well, and the best thing I can recommend for you to try to reverse this, or at least stop it at stage 3 without going any further, is for you, to lose a good, 50 to 70 pounds. So I did some research and, knew that bariatric surgery was an option for some people. And for me, I was denied by my insurance because I wasn't big enough for it. Even though I had this, major health problem with my kidneys failing, they said, nope, sorry, come back to us when you've gained 50 more pounds. And then okay, yeah, I'm not going to go and gain 50 more pounds. Yeah, silly, so silly. But anyway, so I didn't meet criteria, unfortunately. Well, I talked with my husband long and hard, and, we just decided, hey, this is a health issue. And, I was only in my mid 40s at the time, mid to late 40s at the time, and just too young for stage 3 kidney failure. You really don't see that until, you get in closer to your late 60s, 70s. So I was pretty young to be at that stage. So we decided to pay for it out of pocket. I found a doctor who was great in Southern California, where I was living at the time, and got the surgery in July of 2020. So I will be 3 years out in July, this coming July. Yeah, so let me see. Okay. Just to go back really quick. So I was not mentally prepared for this surgery. I will admit to everyone who's listening to this, it happened so fast and so quick. I was not mentally prepared for the loss of food. It is the best decision I've ever made for myself. I did lose almost 75 pounds, and my kidneys, I can't even, it's it makes me cry to even say it, but my kidneys are perfect. My kidneys are functioning perfectly. I am not in kidney disease stage, any stage right now. And my numbers look great. And it's just the biggest blessing ever, biggest blessing. So would I do it again? 100%. Would I have prepared myself a little more beforehand if I had the time? 100%. I mourned the loss of food, guys. When I woke up and it was like, oh, you're on liquids for, a month, and then you're on soft foods for, I mean, I remember telling my husband just like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I do not know if I mean, it's like food is everything to me. It's like everything to me. And to not be able to eat what I want, when I want, it just was devastating. And I really fell into a bit of a depression, which is I feel so selfish saying that, because I was just given like the biggest gift and the biggest life-saving gift that anyone could give me. But yet I was feeling depressed. It's like, Aymee, what's your deal? Like, you're losing weight rapidly. You're doing great. No complications from the surgery. I didn't have any complications to speak of. I really did really quite well. There was a few foods I couldn't tolerate, for a while afterwards, but most of those have resolved over time. And so I just thought, what are you depressed about? But I would literally just wake up and cry because I just missed the food. I missed the food. So
that grief is very valid and real. Like I think many people that are listening, and I think like Rob and Murph definitely speak up too, but it's like, I think that's very relatable. And so it's like, there's room for all of that, right? Like, yes, this is a life-saving thing and it was helpful, and it was a huge loss at the same time,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a big concern for a lot of people, right? Like, yes, we understand the need, health-wise, we understand the need to make this change and to give up something that we cannot control. Because if we could, we would have done it, right? And I always go back, and that's why I absolutely love. I've listened to the podcast with Phil a couple times at this point, and for me, when he mentioned how he can just imagine how hard it is to give up something like food, and how hard it is as an addiction, because you have to eat food numerous times a day and you have to be able to control that. So, for us to be able to drop something just like that and go to something like a liquid diet, which is so extreme, right? Like, I tell a lot of people the hardest part for us in Canada is the pre-surgery diet. So it's the OptiFast, what we have, which is, just shakes for me, it was 3 weeks of X amount of shakes. Right. And so it's such a big difference from what we're used to. And so, it is definitely, it's understandable to mourn that, because it's such a big part of our life for so many years. And that's what I tell people a lot is, we've been doing this for a lot of years. Right. This has been what we've known. This has been a big part of our life. It's not even just been a part of our life. I know for me, it was a big part of my identity. Now I'm losing that part, whether I'm ready or not. I'm losing a big part of who I am. Right. And so, and I commend you for making those big changes, because whether you had to or not, you did it. And so that is huge. And to see that big turnaround with your health is awesome. So I commend you on that. It's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's definitely something that I've struggled with lately. Especially, I've had this thought of the idea of like never eating the way that I used to eat ever again. Like, it's never, like, it can't be undone. And the reality of it just hits me once in a while. And I'm just like, I don't know if it's that I miss food, or I miss my old self, or I miss that lifestyle, or I miss that comfort, or what it is exactly. But the reality of the fact that my life has now been changed forever until, that last day. And it's just like, oh man, that's a tough one, to wrap your head around, and it messes with your head a little bit. So being emotionally ready or mentally ready to take on this, I was just talking to somebody at work about it today, because having the surgery is not for everyone. And she asked me, what is the biggest part of it? And I said, it's the mental aspect of it. It's
100%.
literally 90%, if not more,
Yeah.
the mentality that you have going into it. And if you don't have it, I feel like you can get it. I mean, you can learn tools and things like that. And I'd love to pick your brain more on that, how you've, gotten through that. But it's so much more than just eating a little bit of food here and there. It's definitely not a quick fix.
Right.
It's a real mental game. And I think your success depends on how mentally prepared you are. And then also how mentally strategic you can be or overcoming. Yeah.
I also think like it's a versatility or being dynamic, right? Like I've said this numerous times on the show. I think we've one thing that was a big challenge for many of the people I talk to and a lot of the mentees that I have that I mentor, I see a rigidity in our ability to adjust and adapt, right? Because we are so used to something very specifically. And I think we're so used to that. And we don't want to break that because of what you had mentioned, the emotional ties to it, the way that it makes us feel, the other things, you're thinking back about the person we used to be or the times we used to have or all this, how we used to cope with certain things. And food was a big part of it. And I think at some point that rigidity was so ingrained in us that regardless of what happened, we wouldn't break it, right? Whatever it was, right? And so that is the big part of it. And I think a lot of the people that I see succeed, even though we all struggle with it, they've been able to find a way to adapt to things, right? This isn't working. How am I going to make it work? We all slip. What am I going to do now? Whereas back then it was like, we slip. All right, I'm going to enjoy this ride down, right? Because that's sort of what we knew. So I think that resilience and that ability to adjust has been big. And so, yeah, Aymee, I would love to hear, what type of things did you put into practice? What type of habits did you try to build to help with building around that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a couple more things I just wanted to say in regards to anybody who has disordered eating and then gets this surgery. So number one, like we already mentioned, like bariatric surgery is a great tool for fixing the physical. It does not fix the mental addiction. It doesn't even touch your brain at all. And I really need folks to really take that in, because that is something that I think is so important to keep in mind. And so in regards though to the physical changes, for me, the first year was a little difficult for me, and it was a little bit of a slippery slope. And let me explain why. When your stomach has been cut, I had VSG, so your stomach is cut down significantly. And so if you try to overeat, especially in your first 6 months to a year, if you try to overeat, it's naturally going to come back up. Well, for me, it wanted to come back up. Well, that was a slippery slope for me, because I wasn't intentionally overeating, but sometimes I would eat a little more. I didn't stop when maybe I should have, or something didn't set well with me. But just I'll call it the involuntary purging that happened a few times for me really was a mind messer. I'm trying to use a word that's not a cuss word, but it was just
Cuss away. It's all good.
Messed with my mind though, big time, because this is like, wait, this feels like old times, and it wasn't old times because I wasn't binging and getting this satisfaction of binging beforehand. It was even just eating something maybe small that didn't quite set well with my pouch or whatever it might have been. And it would be coming back up. And so I had to be really cognizant of that, because in my mind, I was like, oh, great, Aymee, you're going backwards. You're going backwards with your disordered eating issues. And so that was just one thing I kind of wanted to mention. And that also that it's really normal to mourn the loss of food. I feel like that maybe isn't talked about a whole lot, but it's normal, and and it's okay, and you will get through it. I got through it. It wasn't easy, and I'm still getting through it. Look, I say I got through it. I have not arrived by any means, guys. I have not arrived. Yes, I'm almost 3 years out. I feel like I have, a good system going. I'm at a weight that I feel very comfortable with. So I'm just kind of I've been maintaining the weight for about a year and a half now. And so I feel really good about where I'm at, but you've never arrived. You have to work at this every day. The surgery is definitely not a one and done. I'm fixed forever and we're good, because you guys all know, you can start bad habits up again, and then, okay, you're stretching your sleeve out a little bit, little by little, or you're what call eating around your sleeve, you're eating slider foods that don't make you full, but they're tons of calories,
Yep.
things like that. And so, for me, to answer your question, Rob, I think that it's been a lot about foods that I feel comfortable and safe with for me for this maintenance phase. And Shay can attest to this.
I knew you were going to say
so silly. It's so silly, but it is the one thing I do for myself every day that is the safest thing that I can do for myself. So I literally have this 100 calorie oatmeal packet, okay? A banana, a tablespoon of peanut butter. I have this breakfast every morning, and I have had it every morning since I was able to eat soft
and your yogurt,
foods.
right? Don't you mix your yogurt
sorry.
with your oatmeal?
Yes. I mix the Dannon Light and Fit. Sorry. Yes. That was the key piece. I mix it in with the oatmeal, and it is my favorite. Like, it's the best ever. And I never get sick of it. I don't know how that is. Like, I don't know, but I always feel like I'm starting off the day right. Like, in my mind, it's starting it off right. So I've kept that. I stay away from, most fried foods, fast foods, fried foods, things that I know too that kind of bother my stomach. And just, I really try to listen to my body, portion control wise. Now, there are times when my mind, this darn thing up here, takes over and says, oh, Aymee, that red velvet cake over there from the birthday party is calling your name, all of that kind of stuff. And I will have a little bit. I will. If I'm too rigid on myself, you guys, I have found I am a rebellious little girl. Let me tell you, there is a rebellious little girl in here.
She's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah, she's just, I got to keep her under lock and chain, man. I'm serious. My therapist calls that little girl, she calls them my wild horses. She goes, Aymee, you've got wild horses in you. It's not a bad thing. It's just part of your personality. It's part of who you are. But she said, you've got to keep the wild horses in the stable. You can't let them run free, because
I feel like you're on the start of like a country song. Like, this
Right?
is the start of a country song.
So we gotta circle the wagons.
Stable, so they
Yes.
don't get loud. I'm gonna be all
Yes, my wild horses. But yes, so I have to feed the wild horses a little tiny bit, because if I just say no to them entirely, they will bust open the gate, guys. They will break it down. And I know that, and I know this. And so I try to do stuff in moderation. I'm not always perfect, but to answer your question, Rob, that is what I'm trying to do going forward for maintenance, is just moderate everything with moderation.
I love it. That's sort of been my mantra from the very beginning. So 3 years in from now is always like, same thing with you, right? Like, I know I know the way I am, and that's the big thing that I took from listening to you is you got to find what works for you, and I think that is for everyone. You can hear what I do, you can hear what Aymee does, you can hear what Shay and Murph do. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you, right? So anyone else listening, you really got to play around and see what's going to work for you. And I think the best way to do that is to really have an honest conversation with yourself about what's worked in the past and what doesn't, right? What causes you to do certain things. I know for me, I do very, very well as an all or nothing type of person. Like I go all out, I could do amazing, and then I slip, and then I'm really, really good at doing nothing for a long time, right? And so for me, it was a matter of, okay, I do great, but I also do poorly like that. How do I beat that? And for me, it was moderation, right? So, I said at this point in my life, I like eating with my kids. I like enjoying my time with them. I like being at the table with them. So I don't want to make different food from them. I want to eat what they eat. I want to spend that time with them. I need to learn how to eat smaller amounts. I try to make sure that I'm almost fast when I'm eating with them, which is hard sometimes when your kids just talk so much and you're just like, come on, hurry up faster so I can take my next bite. But no, I love that. I love hearing you say, talking about what works for you and what you had to do. I eat the same breakfast every day, same type of thing. So I love hearing you sticking to that because it also works well for you and it doesn't make you feel like you're missing out. And most importantly, I loved hearing you say that you're about a year and a half in 12, and you're at a weight that you're comfortable with, because at the end of the day, again, it doesn't matter what the number is. It matters what you're comfortable at, right? You're healthy, you're comfortable at where you are, you feel good at that place. It doesn't need to be like, weight loss surgery isn't the race to get, to the lowest number. And we all get caught up on that too, because I know I do, right? Like, I look at my scale every once in a while. I'm like, okay, well, now I'm 183. I don't want to be this low, but somewhere in my head, I'm like, yo, you could go under 180 if you want. And I'm like, yeah, I could do that. But then I'm just like, is that what I want? Right? Like I spent so much time trying to get above that again. And now I'm going back. So I loved there's so many really good things that you're saying. I loved hearing it. So it's amazing.
Yeah. And women out there, women who are listening to this and who see this, don't pressure yourself to meet a specific weight goal on the scale. Really don't do it to yourself, honestly, because the number is important. And yes, I do weigh myself regularly just to check in with myself. But for me, it was more about, so I had it in my mind, okay, I'm starting at a size 16. I'd love to go half that. So I'm in a comfortable 8 at this point in my life. And for me, an 8, I've never been an 8 in my adult life. This is like the smallest in my adult life that I've been. So I'm super proud of myself for that. Super proud of myself. Yeah. And so if I never make it to like a size 4 or a 6, I'm okay with that. And I like the curves that I have. Curves are beautiful to me. And so, and my husband as well, he likes the curves. So, it just, don't get too hung up on, gotta get to a specific number, because then if you don't, you'll feel disappointed within yourself. And why? Why put that extra pressure on yourself? Shay has been so good. Actually, Shay has been teaching me a lot about, just kind of loving yourself where you're at and at what stage you're at, and not being so. Shay will tell you I'm a very critical person on myself, not on other people, but on myself. And I've learned a lot from her in regards to just like, Aymee, why are you so hard on yourself? Yeah. I think the black and white thinking for me, that's a lot of it. I have very rigid, old rigid tapes in my head that like to play, stuff from childhood, those kinds of things. But anyway, just kudos to Shay, because she seems to have a very balanced view of how to love yourself. And I've learned a lot from you. Yeah.
I don't want to hear it from you, Rob. You can.
I didn't say anything. I just made faces. You're okay.
Yeah, I'm nice and people like me. I'm just kidding. No, it's true though. It's so hard, and we had someone talk about just like that restriction piece, and it's so hard. A lot of what I have seen within myself and with other people, and Aymee and I, you're going to be like, yep, broken record. I've heard this a million times, but I just, it makes my heart so sad when I see people coming from a place of self-punishment, and the root that I can usually go back to that makes sense in my mind is just not seeing your own worth. And I don't know why, but it's an ability I feel like God gave me to see worth in other people. And so it makes me feel so sad when people don't see that for themselves. And that's taken time to see that even within myself, but for myself. But I think a lot of where that comes from, that's the root. And so what do I say to you all the time, Aymee? What are some of the things I say to you about worth? I mean, you are such a worthy person, whether you lose weight, whether you gain weight, that doesn't matter. It's irrelevant, right? And so I don't know, like what advice do you have for people who are kind of in that restrictive place?
Right.
That's usually what I say all the time, right? But like, I know that's something that you've been working on a lot.
Yeah. Look, I hate to say, I mean, if somebody is in a place where that is what works for them, being super restrictive and prescriptive, about every move they make, and counting, every single calorie, and being really rigid, but that just really works for them. I don't want to be the person to say, well, don't do that. But are you happy though? I guess I would ask, are you happy? And is this sustainable? Is this way of life for you sustainable in the long run? And can you be happy in the long run being this rigid? And if the answer is yes, for some people, then awesome. But for me, I need a bit more of a go with the flow, listen to my body mentality. I did follow the program post-op the first year very rigidly. Shay knows, I was very, don't eat, no rice, no pasta, no, just very rigid and all of that. And then I thought, okay, this to me is feeling very stifling, and it's starting to really feel like a chore. And I don't want to end up hating my new life. I want to enjoy my new life. And so if that means I need to find my own way through this, then that's what I'm going to do. And I think it's a work in progress for me. But this is what definitely works for me.
Well, and I think it's kind of counterintuitive at first. Like, I know sometimes I get funny looks, especially because I'm so newly post-op. I'm just about to hit my 1 year mark, and I've taken definitely more of an intuitive approach. Like, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not prescribing anything. I'm just sharing more of like my experience and what's worked. And I think for so long we've been told to not trust our bodies. That's what got us there in the first place. All of these things that are actually just lies. When you look at it more from a logical perspective, first thing first, obesity is a disease. We wouldn't tell somebody who has 100%. Cancer, like, oh, you have cancer and that's what got you here. Even with lung cancer, I know that's another one that gets a lot of shade because it's like, well, you smoked and that's what got you here. There's a lot of people who have lung cancer who have never smoked a day in their life. And so that's the first thing. Obesity is a disease. The second part about it too is, in a lot of ways, I know many of us were raised in ways that told us to not trust ourselves, right? And all these small ways that add up. But really, our bodies are so much smarter than like our brains are, where they give us a lot of indicators of what they need when they need it. And so for me, it's been a neat journey and experience of really leaning into that. It's been kind of scary and it's felt risky because some of the things that I've done have gone against what my program guidelines are. Not that I'm recommending that, but that's what my body has told me. And I know for myself, every time I've listened to my body, it's been spot on. And there's times that, like I think about like I one time had too many chocolate covered almonds where it's like, ooh, that just did not sit well. But that doesn't like define, like when you think about it, it's kind of laughable in a way. Like, yeah, like I had too many chocolate covered almonds. Like I'm such a bad person. Like that's so weird, kind of, right? And I'm not like shaming people who think that, but again, just seeing it from a non-emotional, objective place, like, no, I made a mistake. Like I'm learning my new stomach. Maybe I got distracted and I ate too many, and it's okay to make mistakes. Like I think that's the other thing where I was raised in an environment and like just seeing lots of different things that like making mistakes, that's the worst thing you can ever do. And I think that applies a lot with people, or that I've seen in this space. It's like, we're going to make mistakes. Like, it's okay. That doesn't define our worth. That doesn't mean anything's different. And so, sorry, I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but it's like, I don't know. My heart hurts because it's hard, and there's no easy solution. And I wish there was.
Yeah. I feel like I've been sitting here and I'm thinking like, what sort of addiction or lifestyle that, people are trying to get away from or get out of. What sort of lifestyle that involves recovery? Like, does recovery ever end for anybody? You know what I mean? Like,
not for me.
It can't end, and
Daily.
we're
It's
gonna
daily.
make mistakes. It's
Yeah.
daily, and this is just a fact of life. And then how we handle, I mean, that, you've got programs like AA, like we talked to Phil about, last week. We've got programs for different things. I don't know, other than the Waiting Table podcast or Barry Nation or other programs where, you can meet. And I mean, we don't have 12 steps, but you can meet and talk. And that's why this is so important. And I don't think, it's the steps so much, with AA. I think it's getting together and being vulnerable and transparent and real and talking about our recovery, because this is a recovery process that is going to take the rest of our lives. And
Absolutely.
and then we talk about, having, like you talk about having your oatmeal and your yogurt and the same thing every day for 3 years. I've been doing the Premier Protein shakes for 2.5, almost 3 years.
Yep.
You find something that works, or rather, if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? I mean, if it's working for you, keep doing it. If it's not working for you, rewrite the script, you're making your own ending, and like Rob said, it's not the number on the scale. It's about your happiness. It's about where you're at now, and where we are all is on a journey, and it's a journey of recovery, from something. And I can't think of who isn't on a journey of some sort of recovery,
Whether you want to be or not, you are.
Yeah.
You're recovering,
And whether you're aware of it or not, you are, right?
Whether
Like, that's the thing.
whether it's obesity, whether it doesn't matter. We're all on some sort of journey, and recovery never ends. I think it's safe to say that. I think that's a fair statement. I'm gonna.
No, I think you're 100% right. And I think like a big thing that I see a lot, and I have these conversations with people, and this is something that I used to fall prey to, and I know a lot of friends who do, is just even learning work-life balance, right? Like I have a lot of people, and I was a person who I would tell my customers, I'm like, doesn't matter what time you call me, middle of the night, I'm going to the hospital to help you guys out, all this stuff, right? And then, at some point I had to teach myself that, hey, I have other priorities in life. I have a family, I have a wife. This is my priority now. And people have a very hard time breaking that up. And I know in my industry, very, very, very hard. I had a colleague ask me, because I have a work phone that does not get touched after 4:30 p.m. anymore. And I have my personal phone. They're like, oh, how does that work now? Like, it's amazing. Because they thought I was going to be like, oh, I'm always looking. I'm like, no, I do not. When I put it away, it's family time now. And again, these are things that we're all on journeys. We're all trying to make changes, regardless of whether we know it, whether we're aware of it. We are constantly changing. And if you're not, then you're stagnant. Then you're just sort of sitting there and you're just what are you doing? Right.
Yeah.
So I love hearing all this from everyone. Like, this is what we're going through. This is how we are evolving and they're changing. And, even today, I find that this often happens on certain events, but you usually take that time. I find that I constantly will just, on certain days, I'll just sort of sit there and look around at everything around me, and just be appreciative of these things. And I'll think back, and this is why, I think of it today on my birthday. I think back to, what was I doing last year? What was I doing? Last year wasn't a good one because we were stressing out because I had my surgery that day and we had a flood in the morning. But prior to that, and every year prior to that, it's just like I would wake up in pain. I would be in a pretty good mood, and then it wouldn't last very long because I was in so much pain. I couldn't move and I wasn't happy and all these different things. Right. And now we've put in that work to be happy with who we are. And as you had mentioned, you're comfortable with who you are. If I thought back to Rob 5 years ago, would you have thought you'd be at this point? And regardless of how much we are still working on it, how much we are struggling with it, how much we fall, you ask your person 5 years, 6 years, 10 years down back, if you could have imagined that you'd be in that place where you are now. Most of us would say no. And it brings you to that appreciation of, damn, I've done good, right?
Yeah.
I've made it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, these journeys that we go through, for sure.
Yeah.
It is, for sure. One thing I wanted to say really quick, Rob, with you talking about work and, kind of being or struggling maybe with workaholism and stuff. That is one thing I found for me after I got out of my inpatient treatment. Shay can attest to this. Was I had a real issue with what they call transfer addiction.
Yep, I was going to ask about that.
I transferred right from having a bad eating disorder into being a major workaholic. I threw my mind, body, and soul into climbing the corporate ladder, and it destroyed a lot of things along the way. It hurt my kids. It was just not a healthy thing for me, but it was something that I was using to cope, without having the bulimia there to fall back on. And so just, folks out there, be careful of the whole transfer addiction thing. It's very real. I've heard folks, have the surgery and then they have problem with, alcoholism or just your addiction just somehow morphs into something else besides food. So just be on your toes about that, because it's a very real thing that's happening. And, for me right now, I feel like I'm pretty darn balanced. I feel really good about, where I'm at. Feel balanced with work, family life, my food. I'm feeling like I'm in a good place, but that can shift at any time, and you've got to be on guard with that. So,
well, and there's, pun intended. No. and there's, or what I always like to say too, is that there's so many different ways to cope, and the actual methods we use, there's not really anything wrong with working, with food, with alcohol, it's just the reason behind it. And I've known Aymee, for, what is it? Me and Dylan have been together 11 years. And I just have to say, like, I'm so proud of you. Like like it's kind of hard to explain in a short amount of time all of the growth that's happened in those 11 years that I've known you. But like, it almost not discounts, but it's hard to fully like get through the growth that's happened, because who you are today is not who I knew like when I met you at all. Like, which is good. I mean, 11 years, you would hope that, and I'm not the same person either. But like, you've done a lot of hard work to get where you're at now. And so, of course, it's easy to like look back and say, oh yeah, and I'm in a good place. But I don't want that part to get missed, that there's been a lot of intention and tears and hard stuff to get there. So good job.
Thanks. Aw, thanks.
We got a couple comments. Someone had said that their addiction transferred to the gym.
Yep.
100% sleep, eat, dream the gym. And again, it's like going to the gym is not like a bad thing, or like,
Right.
it's just that's maybe a different way of coping. So again, it's tough, you guys. It's so tough.
And I think, acknowledging the fact that it's tough and that this is a journey that you are going to always have to, and, this is the whole thing with the prep stuff, even at the hospital, I've had a conversation with the social worker about the program. And I said, the biggest thing I think that we are missing, and I think the biggest thing that in general bariatric surgery is missing is, we do the whole prep for diet, and we do the prep for, financially, are you able to continue taking vitamins for the rest of your life? Are you able to manage with this? But the question is, are you going to be able to connect with what you need to do emotionally and mentally? That's always been my thing, right? And how are you going to be able to do that? And what support's available? I always tell people that, it's not the easy way out. Like having bariatric surgery isn't the easy way out. It's a resource that we have that we are able to utilize to better ourselves and our family, but that also shouldn't stop there, right? If there are other resources that you can utilize to help you be successful with this part of your journey, you should also utilize it. Whether it's, hey, I'm going to jump on the waiting table. Hey, I'm going to join Bari Nation. Hey, I'm going to reach out to a bariatric dietitian. Whatever it is, you need to utilize the resources you have available, because at the end of the day, this is a big step and a big change that you are going through. And you want to do as much as you can to make sure you succeed, one, but that you're able to continue with this, right? Because this is not just like, hey, this is what my life's going to be for the next 5 years. You want it to be a long-term, Mary in motion, 10 plus years type thing, right? So that's the big thing. We can't look at this as, this is what I'm going to be doing for the next foreseeable future. This is life now, right? And so how do I adapt to it? How do I want to see my life with this as part of it? And I think the more people are prepared for that, the better it will be for them. Yeah, Mary in motion is now a verb. That's how we describe success long term. That's awesome. Aymee, I do have one big question. I know we're sort of winding down in terms of time here. If you were to, because I think the content that you shared with us and your experience that you shared with us has been amazing. I think it's been very insightful. I think it's needed, because I don't think that these are topics that get discussed often in the bariatric community. I think we're all aware of it to an extent, but I think it's also slightly glossed over, because it's sort of like the part we want to sweep under the rug. But if you could share, I would say, just one big takeaway from your experience that you would like to share with the bariatric community and people either going through some of the challenges that you've had or about to go through bariatric surgery, what would that be?
It would be to not let fear dictate your health and your decision making in this area. It's very easy to just stay with what you know, even if what you know is harming your body, which, whether it's bulimia, whether it's anorexia, whether it's just binge eating disorder in general, you're hurting yourself, you're harming your body. And but it's very scary. It's very scary to make a change, especially a lifelong change. And you do have to be prepared to make a lifelong change. And so if you want to be successful, it's not a quick fix. Some people may look at it that way, but then oftentimes those are the people that unfortunately, they end up, kind of right back where they started in 4 or 5 years, because they don't really look at it like this is a lifestyle change. And so just don't let fear hold you back. It is scary. It's the unknown. If food has been your friend, your vice, your coping mechanism, your everything. I'll just say food, just to me, talk about priorities, like food was up there on the priority list for me. And it's very scary to rearrange your priority list in your mind. But just go for it if you get the opportunity and it's right for you. It's not right for everyone, this surgery. Absolutely. It's something that you can't take lightly. No pun intended, as she would say. But definitely, weigh up the pros and cons. But if you do feel in your heart like it's something for you, don't be scared to take the leap and take the jump. Also, too, I am a person that I was older when I had the surgery. I was 48. No, excuse me. Let's see. 40. I just turned 49. Yeah. So almost 50. So, if your doctor says, hey, you're healthy enough to undergo this surgery, go for it. Just, go for it. It's been amazing for me.
That's some awesome advice. I'm definitely taking notes and coming back on this. The whole fear, because fear just drives us to do some crazy things sometimes. And,
No doubt.
fear coupled with doubt in ourselves, just drives us to different places. And I loved having you on, Aymee. It's been so great to finally get to meet you and get to know you and hear your story. And you're nothing like how Shay
Yeah, right? Like it's totally different. Like Shay,
she had us scared. I mean, she had us.
She said, I think it was, quote, she was just like, get ready for a snoozer. I'm like, wow, okay.
something like that. Yeah.
Right? It was like that. And I was just like,
that's exactly what I said.
I can totally picture you saying that, Shay.
I think the exact words were Snoozerville, USA. Here
that was it. And I was Canadian, so I didn't get it. So then she had to rephrase it. Yes,
that's what it was.
Yeah. No, Shay stole that one from me, because I'm known for in my family that for some reason I say this is like Sketchville, USA. I don't know why. Like when you're going into like a really seedy part of town. And so my kids are all like, oh, that's a momism, Sketchville, USA.
She has some good Amyism.
Yeah, they do. They gave me a list one time and I was like, wait, do I really say that stuff? Yeah, I guess I do. Okay. I'm guilty as charged.
Sketchville, USA. We call that Detroit here.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So, what part of Michigan is it? Is it like
that's right.
This
that's
one?
right there.
Right. Down here. I was a bit too high.
That's
perfect.
Sketchville. No, I love
Aymee, where can everyone find you if on Instagram or any of the other social media things here if they want to connect with you?
At just so simple, but Aymee Quinn Sampson. That's my handle on Instagram. So super easy. I mean, if you spell Aymee correctly, which isn't super easy.
Yeah. So
but
that's a tough one.
Yeah. Well, and we've done videos. I think we'll do more videos on my YouTube channel together in the future. So this definitely isn't the end of Aymee Quinn Sampson. You'll see her more.
Awesome.
It's great having me, you guys. It's been so fun. I was so nervous to do this because I am not,
Tell them all the bad things I said about them to you.
Don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Just, tons. Okay, but seriously, Rob, she roped me into doing this dance thing.
Oh, yeah.
Shay does that? On just going like this. And you, Murph, you're like, I'm like, why did I have to be a fool?
I danced. I did
and
some
then
dancing.
You two boys are just like, I'm like, what? So Shay, you roped me into that big time. I bet you knew the boys were just gonna like go.
I needed to level it out. I needed to spice it up.
Because Shay's gonna come in all crazy and whatnot, and so she's like, just do this. It's 5 seconds. It's I'm like, oh gosh, Shay,
they're used to it. They know my little pitch I always give them. Just 5 seconds, guys. That's all
no big deal. 5 seconds. No big deal. Yeah.
Well, speaking of crazy, some of the things that we're doing this March is crazy. So just to give you guys a heads up, I'm going to be we'll put more communication out. But March Madness, we have a packed week starting next week where we're going to have not one, but 2 shows next Wednesday. So, and then the Wednesday after that, we're going to have 1 show, but then we'll also do a happy hour. So we're going to get all of this out to you, but you guys, this is going to be like crazy next couple of weeks. So buckle up. Madness. Exactly.
March Madness.
So I hope you guys are all ready. We're going to have somebody with a really cool British accent, and no, it's not Murph pretending. Nope. And it's not the Canadian accent. We're sick of the Canadian accent. We need to get the UK accent. But yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm really excited for the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned. Follow us on Instagram so you can see what's coming up.
Awesome. And thank you, Aymee, very much for joining us. And thank you guys all
Thank you,
so
Aymee.
much for joining us on another episode of the Waiting Table. Oh, I guess we're doing that.
Yeah.
Waiting Table Podcast, where we're serving the weight loss community
1 pound at a time.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night. This is where we dance, Aymee. You
Bye.
can do your killer, your sick dance moves
There
now.
it is. 5 seconds only, Aymee.
Just 5 seconds. Just 5 seconds. I'm like an annoyed insurance
5 seconds.
broker. That's all I need, guys. That's all I need.
I know.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Oh, Murph's coming in. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
There it
He's
is.
a cool-
There it
he's a
is.
Cool guy.
Later, guys.